All right,
All
we're
right,
live.
we are live. Hey guys, this is going to be Jason and I's first time doing a review, and we are doing it on
Our float tubes.
our float tubes, what we use every single time we go fishing. It's a very, very important piece of equipment for us.
The Outcast Trinity is the model that we use. And I think we've both decided that we've fallen in love with it.
Absolutely. Before we actually bought this float tube, there was another one that I showed Jason as well. And it was the, what was it, Wilderness Light?
Yeah, the Wilderness Light.
Wilderness Light. The reason I looked at it is because it only weighed 3.4 pounds. Whereas this one weighs...
Well, according to my super accurate bathroom scale, 6.8 pounds.
So 6.8 pounds, so that's a huge difference. So first thing we want to talk about is, well, there's no really definition of ultralight, right? It could really mean anything.
Depends on how much you're willing to carry.
Right. And Outcast, they actually call this one an ultralight backpacking float tube at 7 pounds or 6.8 pounds.
Ultralight in their lineup for sure.
It is, for sure.
Yep.
Yeah. Because the rest of their stuff is 30 pounds.
Yeah. Yep.
At least. Yeah. So this one is designed for backpacking. So keep that in mind. Like this float tube is good for absolutely everything, but designed for backpacking. That was the first priority of it.
And something you got to keep in mind with something that's designed for backpacking is you have to cut corners in some places to get the weight down. So when you compare it to a normal float tube that a lot of people use on lakes and that sort of thing, it's going to be pretty stripped down in comparison to those type of models.
There's a lot of questions out there saying, well, should I get a pack raft to go fishing in or a float tube? And I would have to tell you, well, what are your thoughts on this?
For me, I feel like the float tube is the way to go. The biggest thing is control, especially while you're fishing. With the float tube and a set of flippers, you're able to control your boat with your legs, and that way you have both hands free for casting and fighting fish and that sort of thing. With the pack raft, your only way to move the thing around is with a paddle, and it's really hard to paddle and fish at the same time. So I feel like the float tube is the way to go.
Absolutely. I have to agree. Having your feet in the water and having fins, you have 100% more control than a pack raft or even a stand-up paddleboard.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
because you've tried that.
I have a stand-up paddleboard. That stupid thing's expensive, and I've only used it once. So if you're thinking about either a pack raft, stand-up paddleboard, or a float tube for sure.
Float tube.
For control and just easeability.
Yep.
It's
when
really
you look at our float tubes, our Trinities, they're gonna run about 2 pounds heavier than a pack raft, but I feel like that extra 2 pounds is a good 2 pounds to carry with you in the capability that you gain. Now, if we were just river fishing and floating from place to place where we were getting out all the time to fish, then I could see a pack raft being an advantage. But for stillwater fishing especially, I don't think the float tube can be beat, really.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any better way to do it.
Yeah, for lakes, float tubes all the way.
Yep. Especially when you have to battle the wind and that sort of thing.
The wind is horrible.
Yep. And the way that you can easily maneuver these things to get your casts in the right spot and, you can constantly battle the wind while you fish, and you don't even realize you're doing it because you're just doing it with your legs the whole time, which makes a huge difference. So once you use it a couple times and you get used to the way it controls, there's really no better option, I don't think.
Yeah.
So
We have taken these float tubes out at a Sunburst, not the video that you guys saw, but a previous year. And when we went up there, it was July? It was July,
it was
and
July.
The weather was 45 was the high.
It was cold.
It was a cold trip, but we still went fishing and went on the other side of the lake. On the way back, it was windy.
Yep.
like how fast do you think the wind was blowing before we lost control?
Probably 15 to 20.
15 to 20 miles per
Yeah.
hour, and you will just blow to shore
Yeah.
if it's that fast. Like
Yeah.
because you can't, your feet can't turn you or anything like that. Like wherever the wind's blowing at that fast,
It takes a lot of energy to fight it at that speed.
Yeah.
But the nice thing about the float tube is you still have directional control. You may not be able to travel into the wind, but at least you can keep the float tube oriented the way you want to, with your feet being in the water. So, and your feet being in the water also helps you slow down too, so that you're not blowing all over the place like you would in a raft.
Yeah, or a stand-up paddleboard.
Yep, or a stand-up paddleboard.
The thing is horrible.
Yep.
I have been on our Flyhead Lake over here with the winds blowing, probably 4 foot, 5 foot waves, and I have to say I felt really comfortable being in this float tube. I wasn't scared. I wasn't worried about tipping over or anything like that. So it can handle waves really well as well.
Yep. And I think part of that is due to the design of these things. Probably the biggest reason I decided to go the Trinity route was the inflatable seat, and especially the inflatable seat bottom.
Okay, hold on. So let's start with the pros of this boat.
Yes.
So we're going to start with the pros. So what's the first pro?
That. That's the biggest pro for me, is the inflatable seat.
The inflatable seat.
There's huge advantages to having the inflatable seat. Control is one.
Mm-hmm.
You float higher on the water, so the float tube tends to skate around on the water, so you can easily maneuver it, whereas a sling style seat in other types of float tubes, your butt is actually sitting down in the water, and it makes it a little bit harder to maneuver because you have to move. You don't have a flat bottom. You have to move the contour of your butt basically being in the water, and your legs being in the water, more so than with the inflatable seat. It's basically just your lower legs in the water. So
that being said, Jason and I do a lot of spring fishing. Right when the snow's melting off the mountain and entering the lake, it's cold.
Very cold.
It is very, very cold. And having your butt above the water and only your shins touching the water, that's huge.
So much warmer.
That is huge. That allows me to stay out there way longer than normal.
Yep. And I think one other advantage too is that once you're getting up above the water a little bit higher, so casting is easier too.
Casting is easier. Yep.
You don't have to have as long of a rod. Like if I was fishing in a sling style float tube, I would feel like I would have to have a 9.5 foot rod, if not longer. But with these float tubes, the thickness of the seat is, what would you say, like 4 inches probably?
Mm-hmm.
So you're riding up above the water a little bit, and that makes casting so much easier. So there's a lot of advantages to the inflatable seat that they have on these float tubes.
I think one of our trips I took out the butter stick, and I want to say my butter stick fly fishing pole is 6 foot only.
Yeah.
And I was able to cast.
You were still able to cast it.
I was still able to cast that. So yeah, it makes it really nice. The reason I did buy mine Sage 9.5 foot is because of that reason. But then we end up getting these float tubes anyway.
Yep. But you're short, so you
short.
You need that longer rod anyway.
So yeah, that was the huge part why we chose these. It's just because getting yourself out of the water. I was fishing in the springtime where it's really cold. Even when we were at Sunburst and it was 45 degrees, sitting above the water and just having your shins and feet in the water is huge.
Yep.
It's massive.
Yep. And we stay out all day.
We do stay out all day, rain or shine.
Yep. And we also travel a long ways. Multiple miles a day in these things. And if we had float tubes where our butts were down in the water, we wouldn't be able to cover that much water. There's no way.
Yeah.
It would take too much energy.
And we'd be freezing.
And we'd be freezing.
Yeah, because you gotta remember, when you're in that sling, it goes up, from what I remember, over your waist.
Yep.
So you got all that underwater too, so you have to dress up for that as well.
Yep.
So that's it. Yeah.
That's probably the biggest pro for me is the seat. I love the seat.
What's the next pro about this Trinity Outcast for you?
For me, I would have to say it's weight and packability. I don't think it's heavy by any means. I think 7 pounds is a really fair weight for what it is. But there's ways it could be lighter, definitely, which is something Outcast maybe will look at doing someday. But I feel like for what it is, the weight is right in there.
Yeah, the only thing I can really say change, like keep the tubes the same denier. I love how thick they are. I love how tough they are. But just the seat mesh design, that can change.
Like the pocket.
The pocket, that holds the inflatable seat.
Yep.
Because I haven't weighed it, but I swear the whole seat thing, just the black part, weighs just as much as the tubes.
Yeah, yeah.
And it shouldn't.
Yeah.
It really shouldn't weigh that much.
Yeah, you could definitely cut down on weight there. Yep.
But everything else is pretty good.
I also like that the tubes are a welded tube that's not encased in a nylon cover like a lot of them are.
Right. It's all one.
I feel like it's a lot more durable for one thing, and then that is a way that they've saved a ton amount of weight too. Not having that nylon encasing.
Right. Yeah.
So,
which makes it really nice. So, packability. This thing is packable. Took us a few tries to get it to be packable, but it definitely can fit snug at the bottom of your backpack.
Yes.
Yeah. Show that.
So this is the float tube packed up. I would say it's probably about the size of a football, a little bit larger than a football, not much.
Well, okay. This is 13 inches.
That's okay. So this is his 13-inch cover here for his MacBook. So 13 inches wide, basically, and about 8 inches round.
Yeah.
7, 8 inches round. So it's not very big at all. It's a really good size. It does fit in the bottom pocket of a backpacking pack. So that would be this pocket down here.
Yep. Where your sleeping bag usually goes.
Yep.
For most
the
people.
Sleeping bag pouch. That's where I actually packed my boat. It fits perfectly side to side inside this pocket, and doesn't bulge out. So it's a really comfortable place to carry it. And I found that with that and my other gear, given we both have really light, super light gear, this is a 70-liter backpack, and I can do a 4-day trip with this and my boat and everything. The only thing that's strapped on the outside would be my net and my flippers. So it's really nice to be able to carry all that stuff with.
And I have the 88-liter pack, and that just allows me to carry all my gear inside instead of having to strap anything on the outside.
Yeah, he doesn't have to put anything on the outside of his pack. Plus you have camera stuff and all that too.
Yeah, so we're trying to cut as much weight everywhere else because fishing is the most important to us. So that's where we're going to hold the weight. Keep in mind that our fishing equipment is the heaviest gear we have carrying with us.
Yep.
7 pounds there, plus our waders, plus our fishing equipment. I think I've added up to around 10 to 11 pounds.
Yeah, just fishing stuff.
Just fishing stuff.
Yep.
And obviously this is the biggest part right here.
Wow, our backpacks would be really light if we didn't fish.
Yeah, it would be really light. Very, very light. Because it's incredible how much weight it actually takes up.
Yeah.
Because I think we finally got our packs down. I got mine down to 38. Right?
Yep.
The trial and error, the first sunburst trip that we went to, my pack was 60 pounds.
Yeah, probably 70 pounds worth of stuff.
It was miserable hiking in. I was totally dead at the end of it.
We ate well.
We ate, you guys, we brought in steaks. We brought in steaks, we brought in a dozen eggs, we brought in bacon, we brought in prosciutto, cheese.
Amazing.
Alcohol.
Amazing. I will
breakfast,
never do it again.
Batter. We had pancakes, syrup for breakfast, egg. Yeah, never again. It was a really delicious breakfast though, and I'm thankful we brought in the steaks because I don't know if we would have made it out without that protein.
Oh man, we needed that for sure.
The steaks we brought in were 2 1-pound cuts. It was ridiculous. And then we cooked it right by our camp.
Yep.
Which was smart.
Beautiful.
The aroma, kept lingering. It was nice.
All right, back to this tube.
Yeah, sorry. So, packability, weight, covered. Yep. What else we got? What were we talking about?
Any other pros?
There was.
Is there some pros for you?
Yeah, another huge pro, not the biggest pro, but this Outcast has a prow, or whatever you want to call it. The mesh in the back here. Yep. Absolutely love that thing. It's where I put my net. It's where I put my beer cans. It's where I put my dry bag full of my clothes to keep it dry.
Yes.
It's absolutely wonderful.
Which was a very necessary addition to this float tube, I think, is the dry bag.
The dry bag, yeah.
Having the dry bag and having that place to put it just changed the game as far as carrying stuff with us on the water. It makes it so we don't have to go back to shore for anything.
Yeah, it makes it really nice because you can just throw the dry bag in the water and carabine it to your boat and you're good to go.
Yep.
And it just drags behind you and totally dry.
Yep.
So you put I put my camera stuff in there, batteries, lunch, rain gear in there, just pretty much everything.
Yep. Makes
it really nice.
Yep.
So, other pro about this one versus other ones. It has 4 chambers.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yep.
One of the scariest times of fishing for me was being on this lake and having one of my seams bust open and having a slow leak. You remember that?
Yep.
I sent a video to him, it was going so I was like, oh my god.
It's going down.
And I had to plug it with my finger. And the only thing was actually keeping it intact was the nylon around it.
Yep.
Because as soon as I got back to shore and unzipped it, it just blew a hole. Huge hole. Yep. It was scary. And you have waders on, and that kind of freaks, just the thought of it kind of freaks you out. I've read that once your waders fill up, you're at equilibrium, and then you can probably just swim back to shore or do whatever. But still, it's scary.
Yep.
And this one has 4 different chambers. It's all welded by, what is it, supersonic or whatever it's called?
Yeah, it's sonic welding.
Sonic welding.
Yep.
So, yeah, I absolutely love the fact that it's welded together.
Yep.
And there's 4 chambers, so if one goes down, you have 3 others.
Yep.
So nothing.
I mean, literally, you could lose both tubes on this float tube, and you'd still have the seat back and seat bottom to use to get you back to shore.
Yeah.
So it's a really safe boat too, I feel like.
And we've had these boats for 4 years now.
Yeah.
4 years. We've had a lot of experience with these boats, and we definitely put them to the test.
Yep. They've been through some nasty brush and over some really bad, logs and sticks and stuff sticking up out of the bottom of the lake, and they hold up really well. So durability is another huge pro for these things. I think they're really durable for what they are too.
Yeah, you don't have to baby it, which is the nice thing.
Yep.
Let's get to the cons.
Okay.
The very first cons. I know you know them. We both hate them. We hate the crap out of these.
Yes. The pockets on these things are awful. They have no structure to them, really. So they're just kind of a floppy, zippered pocket. And I understand that adding structure to those pockets adds weight to it. But I don't think it would add that much weight that it would be very noticeable. It might be noticeable when you're looking at specs on the internet, comparing them to other boats. But I think in real life usage, even if you added a half-pound worth of foam material to the pockets to help them stand up better, would be an advantage. And also, the part that probably irritates me the most, because they don't have enough structure, when you're sitting in the seat, they tend to fall in to the center. So you almost have everything that you're carrying in the pockets laying on your lap.
Yes.
Which is really irritating.
It's really annoying. And the pockets aren't that deep either.
Yeah, they're pretty shallow.
They're really shallow. Like I can only fit a few things in there.
Yep.
And depending how much you blow up your tubes, the less you can put in there, essentially.
Yep.
And it's really irritating because all this stuff that I wanted to bring can't anymore.
Yep. That's part of the reason why we went to a dry bag too, was the pockets weren't cut in it, so we had to figure out another way to carry gear. So
the pockets do have, I believe, a DWR coating on it, because at first the rain started beating off.
Yeah.
Now it kind of soaks in there a little bit, so definitely not waterproof, so don't keep your electronics or anything in there while it's raining.
Yep.
So keep that in mind as well.
Even like a strap, like, so the way that the boat is built, there's nylon material that holds the seat, the two seat bladders in, and then it's got little wings off each side that the tubes fit through. And I feel like you could do better figuring out a way to run like a strappable pocket onto each tube instead of it being integrated into the nylon material, because then that way you could rotate the pocket to where it would always be on top of the tube itself instead of with your weight pulling it into the center all the time.
Yeah.
It would just take a couple slots in the nylon material, and then you could use like one of the side pockets from one of their heavier duty boats, like they sell with the Scout and stuff. You could use those same type of pockets that are really nice, good organization, and with them being strapped on, you could rotate them to where they just always sit on top. So that was just one thing that I thought would be a useful addition to these boats. Even if they sold them as accessories, it would be worth buying in my opinion. What are these things going for right now? Are they
$400?
$400.
$399.99.
Which I think is a fair price for that.
Yeah. And there's no competition, so.
Yeah, they can charge whatever they want, I guess. If you want it, you got to pay for it.
Yeah. So yeah, overall awesome boat though. Another con. The valves. Oh my god, we hate the valves.
The valves are terrible.
They are the worst. I think they're the worst thing on the boat.
Yep.
The valves are disgusting. Okay, so these valves, it takes us how long to deflate them?
Longer than it takes to inflate them.
Yeah,
that's for sure. You can't dump air out of these things.
No, it's a trickle, and the way that you have to do it, or that they're designed to release air, is horrible.
Do you know what kind of valves that they are? What they're called?
Dollar store valves.
Dollar store valves. I'll show you guys what these valves look like.
Actually, I think they're nice valves, but they're just irritating.
Yeah. So this is the seat bladder here, and these are the type of valves that are on there.
Yeah. So these guys right here. So they're kind of nice. You blow in, and then the air stops. This little white piece right here stops the air from coming out, which is nice. It's spring loaded.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But that said, and look at his is already broken off.
Yeah, those caps are both gone on mine.
So we're supposed to have caps. These are the only things that allow air to go out, essentially, freely. Because when you have it blown up, you have to push this down to let air out.
Yep.
And the caps, you put them in. Oh, I have one in mind, but you have to put the caps in here, and the air will slowly trickle out.
Yep.
But as soon as you start rolling, trying to roll the air out, the caps pop out.
So this is the little cap there that's supposed to be on mine, but both of mine ripped off. But this is the inside of the cap, so that would be how you'd normally cover it. And then this side, see if you can see it sticking up there. That part inserts into the end of the valve and actually lets air out. Supposedly let air out.
I have one that doesn't do that at all.
Yep.
So the only way we found, we have to take a little rubber tubing, and we have to find the dimensions that actually fit inside of this tube and just stick it in there snug, and then allows air out without us.
That way you can roll it up and roll the air out of it, and keep the valve open.
Yeah, but this
otherwise you're sticking your pinky in there while you're trying to roll it up.
It's so annoying. This process takes so long. Like once you're out of the water, you're ready to go. Like remember that this takes probably another half hour.
Yep.
Or longer.
Getting your boat deflated and rolled up and all that stuff is very time consuming with these type of valves.
These valves are horrible.
So a different type of valve would definitely help with the ease of use of this boat, I think.
Yeah, a valve, something like See the Summit valve, those things are sick.
Mm-hmm.
I understand why they had to use these, because you can still roll it up, and a Boston valve kind of, I don't know. Yeah, Boston valve would be a little bit more bulky, I guess.
So the only nice thing about these is, especially on the seat, is you can pull them out of the nylon covering and get more air into them. Because when you're using this boat throughout the day, as temperatures change, the bladder pressure will change. So we've had days where we've started out warm and gotten really cold by the end of the day,
and you're sinking.
And yeah, you end up where you don't have enough air, and you're starting to sit really low in the water. So you actually have to get out and put more air in. These are nice because they're long. They'll stick out from the nylon, and you can actually get your mouth on there and put some more pressure in. But just the deflation part is probably the worst part with these things. And they're not easy to blow into either.
No.
I don't know about you, but my boat didn't come with a pump.
No, mine didn't either.
So we use our lungs a lot to blow these things up, especially in the backcountry.
Yeah.
And what did we say? How much does it take to blow them up?
24 breaths?
25 breaths per tube.
For a huge tube.
Yep. I think I counted once, and it was like 62 breaths to get the entire boat finished. And it takes a lot of pressure to open this valve when you're blowing on it to get air to go in. So it's tiring blowing these things up. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, and also having that valve that I made up, you can stick it in here and then start blowing, which makes it a lot easier.
Yep, that does help. You don't have to overcome the spring pressure that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing that kind of sucks with this boat is I think they expect you to blow it with your lungs, but you cannot fill it properly.
No,
with your lungs.
You can't create enough pressure to fill it to its capacity, or to the pressure that you need it.
Yeah, to be comfortably out of the water.
Yep.
A lot.
Yep.
Us going in the backcountry, filling it with our lungs, it's hard to combat the weather. If it is cold, right after our warm breaths have entered it,
yep.
It loses a lot of density.
Yep.
And then you start sinking, and then we have to go to shore and blow our tubes up probably a couple, I don't know, one or two more times,
mm-hmm.
which is annoying.
Yep.
But the few times that we hiked in with a huge, pump?
Yep.
We could fill these suckers up to the max, and it's nice. It's like you're hovering over the water.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's night and day difference. It's a huge difference.
I like using them on lakes where we can drive to.
Yeah.
Because then we can bring a pump and get these things pumped up really nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it makes fishing and cruising, just going is a lot faster.
Yeah.
I want to say when it's fully pumped, we can cruise anywhere from 3 miles per hour.
Yeah.
2 to 3 easily.
3. Yep.
A little bit slower when it's not blown up all the way, but.
Yep. Yep.
We're just cruising anyway. We really don't have anywhere fast to get to.
You don't go anywhere fast in these things.
Yeah. That is another thing when you're out in the backcountry using these. You have to plan and remember how long it is to take to get to one end of the lake and then back. Because
yep.
a lot of times it took us like 4 hours at Sunburst.
Yeah. Yep.
Just because of all the fishing.
Yep.
And then 4 hours back. So
take time.
That was the entire day. Just a fishing trip all the way there.
Yeah, I think if you figure like 1 or 2 miles per hour, like cruising speed, not fishing, but
mm-hmm.
just kicking, probably 2 when you have it fully inflated. That'll give you a good idea of how much water you can cover. But any other cons that you had?
I think that's all the cons.
Mods. How have you modified yours? Have you done anything different?
There's one little thing that we've done different. When the tubes come with its own little strap that goes right here.
Through those 3 grommets.
Yep. And we just replaced it with our own
Yep.
tensioner strap, right?
Yep. We've been using these just in outdoor research, just little strap. It's a lot longer than the one that comes with the boat. And we just found that packing the boat is best if you take everything completely apart.
You have to.
You can get it a lot smaller if you actually separate the 2 tubes from each other. So with us taking it completely apart to get it packed up, we figured we'd use a strap like this that's more useful in other applications. If you need to strap stuff to your pack or whatever, it's got enough length that you can use it for other things too. So it's a multi-purpose thing. I think that's really the only reason we did it. Didn't save any weight or anything. It was just more of why are we carrying that little tiny strap that comes with the boat when we can do the same thing with something that's more useful in the backcountry. Yeah. So that was one mod. I think...
Oh, the other was one more con. Oh, there's no beer holder.
Yeah, no beer holder. Good point. I'm glad you brought that up.
Outcast. What the... Fishing and beer.
Where do you put your beer?
Yeah, they go together. Always. Very disappointed in that.
Yes. I think that could be solved with the more structured pocket, though.
Yeah,
it
definitely
do
could.
Something that way.
We definitely tried a mod for a beer holder. Failed.
Yeah, it totally failed.
It failed. The only way you can hold a beer is just put it behind you, right next to you.
Yeah.
In the seat.
Right behind your hip, basically.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it stands up straight. I've never had one spill, so
it's fine.
It's fine right there.
It works. It would be nice if the pocket was better and it would hold a beer for you too, but
yeah,
you can't get it all. You can't get it all in a 7-pound boat. 6.8 pound boat.
6.8 pound boat.
Yep. The other modified thing would be your tubing. You took that silicone tubing and made tubing for these valves.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that should come with the boat.
It definitely should come with the boat.
Because otherwise it's a nightmare deflating it. So that was another thing that you made for these float tubes that really made a big difference.
Yeah, because the ones that come with it, it's garbage. It's horrible.
Yeah.
Useless.
And there's really no like adapters for inflating either.
No.
That come with it. So you literally just get this boat with these valves and you figure out how to get air into it and back out of it again. One other thing. So this is the mesh part of the bow in the prow area that Eric was talking about. I think the only failure that either of us has had is just one of these little Velcro strips that you can kind of see it there, that actually attaches it to a little ring on the tube itself. On your boat, you broke one of these, and that's the only failure I think we've had.
Yeah, just one ripped off.
So, and there's not much to these things. Yeah, they are bar tacked twice, so they look like they'd be pretty durable. But you must have got too rough with yours.
I don't know what happened to mine. But overall, these boats are awesome. Definitely the best ones I've used. I've used many of float tubes before this one.
But it's really my first float tube that I've fished out of and spent a lot of time fishing out of. And I see no reason to look anywhere else for any other type of float tube. Unless you guys know of one that you can tell me about, maybe I'll try that. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm set with this one. I love this float tube. I think it's an awesome, awesome float tube.
Yeah. Or unless you're counting ounces or pounds, the other one is extremely lighter. But remember, you'll be missing out on some of the features. This is a luxury float tube for sure, out in the backcountry.
Yep,
it definitely is luxury.
Yep, I would say it's a good mix of lightweight, packability, and comfort. I don't think you really give up anything in comfort with this thing.
Yeah.
Which is amazing for something that you can pack on your back like that.
And explore the backcountry, the waters in the backcountry.
Yep.
Which is huge.
Yep.
Because not a lot of people are actually into this. I feel like we're the only ones that do it. We're not the only ones, but I've never seen anyone else use them when we went to the lakes.
Yep.
We were the only ones.
Yep.
So
it's opened up a whole world of fishing opportunities for us in the backcountry.
And just the views and the sights that you can see that no one else can see.
Yes. Some of these lakes get a decent amount of fishing pressure, but it's in a 10-foot strip of the shoreline that people can actually get to from a trail, and then the rest of the lake remains unfished. So being able to have these things with us and give us access to the entire lake is a game changer.
Yeah. So we highly recommend this float tube.
Highly recommend.
Yeah.
Outcast Trinity.
Outcast Trinity.
Don't forget it.
Yep. It is a great, great boat. Before we go, I also want to say, what trip are you most excited for? 2018.
I would have to say Bob Marshall, the Bob Marshall float trip.
Bob Marshall float trip.
Yep.
And what does that entail?
That is a week-long float of the South Fork of the Flathead River through the Bob Marshall Wilderness. I don't know how many miles. Do you know how many miles it is?
I'm going to guess anywhere from 40 to 50 floating, right?
Yeah.
The hike to the part where we have to put in our float tube or our pack rafts is going to be almost 20.
Yeah. Yep. So it's a big hike and then a big float.
Huge float.
Yep.
It's going to take, 8 days we're going to take?
7 or 8.
7 or 8 days to do this float fishing trip. I'm super stoked for it. I know other people that have done it. I've never done it. But these pack rafts also open up a new world for the river.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can't do it with float tubes, or it'd just be a nightmare. You just be going backwards the entire time with fins. So
these are definitely better for still water fishing.
Yeah.
Yep.
One lake that I'm excited, I hope we have time to hit up when we're floating, is Big Salmon Lake.
Yeah.
Big Salmon Lake is 20-mile hike in, 20-mile hike out.
Yep.
Something I don't really want to do. But if we can get there by a boat, heck yeah.
It's a lake we've wanted to try, but haven't had the energy to actually take on the hike. So being able to float near it and hike into it will be a game changer for that too.
But we're really excited for that trip.
Mm-hmm.
Any other trips you excited for?
Any fishing trip that I do at all in 2018?
Some fishing, I've lived here for, I'm going to say 24 years, at least.
Mm-hmm.
I've never, ever fished Glacier National Park, let alone, I've really never even walked into Glacier National Park, except for a field trip when I was in high school, and when I was working on the road, going to the Sun Road. That is it.
Well, you need to explore the park more.
I've lived here, seriously, grew up 15 miles away from Glacier National Park. Never been there.
Well, you should go.
So we're going to do some lakes in Glacier National Park this year.
Yep.
I'm excited.
I'd like to hit some of the big lakes in the springtime, right at ice off.
Yeah.
And see if we can get into some big fish.
Because there's rumors there's some big fish somewhere in the park. There's a lot of lakes in the park. And it's not a fishing destination either, at all.
Mm-mm.
So not a lot of people fish there. And if they do, they're fishing off the shore.
Yep.
Not in floaty boats.
Yep.
So very excited for that.
Awesome. It'll be a good year.
It will be a good year. And it's almost spring.
Oh, thank goodness.
It's finally warming up. The snow's kind of melting. I'm ready for ice off.
Yes, 50 degrees this week.
Yeah. It's going to be awesome. All right, you have anything else to add?
I think we covered it pretty well. I'm sure you guys might have some questions, so go ahead and throw them in. What was I saying?
All right, last Anything else you want to add?
No.
Our battery died and we lost our spot.
I already said anything else I wanted to add.
If you guys like the video, please, or if you have any questions, please throw them down in the comments. If you like the video, please thumbs it up or thumbs it down. Let us know if it's too long. I feel like it was pretty in depth, but
yeah,
yeah,
I think we did pretty well
for our,
that.
Yeah, remember this is our first review, and if you'd like to see more, let us know
and tell us how to do them.
Yeah,
because we're just guessing.
We're just guessing. All right, see you guys.